Welcome once again into the ABC7 studios. It is 2 days from Thanksgiving, and we have something very special planned for you today. As I was walking through the newsroom in here, our 11 a.m. newscast producer, Stephanie, told me to say hi to Jet and Ali. She said she loves you guys. She watches you on Food Network. Aww. But as a more formal way of introduction, they're authors, they're celebrity chefs, they're restaurant entrepreneurs. You guys kind of do it all. Welcome, Jet and Ali.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks to the team at ABC. Say hi to everyone.
Yeah, hello.
Hey, soon we'll be there in person. But thanks for having us, everybody.
Man, we hope so. But I want to kind of get a little bit of background of where you guys came from. Ali, I was surprised. LAUSD's finest. You came from LAUSD and found your way into being a pastry chef. How in the world did you do that?
I'm a 15-year veteran of the great Los Angeles Unified School District, and I loved it. But once our daughter was born, I started helping Jet with the business. So I left the school district, and I ended up going to pastry school because that's always been a passion of mine. And here I am.
And Jet, you talked about as your biography a little bit. You've kind of one of the first families of food in LA. I mean, you've been here and seen it and grown into it. I mean, a lot of people don't step away from the family business, but you embraced it.
Yeah, I did early on. So, for a quick background, my family started the first Thai restaurants and the first Thai food markets in the country. Anything that has to do with Thai food comes back to me, but I had to go bigger and better. I went to French culinary school, Japanese culinary school, travel the world, and now I get to cook for a living. I feel really, really lucky.
I thought that was really cool when you talked about going to Le Cordon Bleu and how you incorporated a more formal teaching skill into what you already knew. I love that because we love to mix and match and throughout all of culinary.
Yeah, for sure. Look, we all, no matter where you come from around the world, cooking is cooking. But what the French have done is they've formalized everything. They've written it all in books, basically from the knife cuts to the techniques. So I wanted to learn French culinary to find a way to kind of formalize and talk about Asian food. So it all really worked out. It was amazing.
And Ali, my brother-in-law is a chef, and he always talks about he cannot bake. Because he said it's too specific, it's too, regimented. Do you find a chance to be creative within the science of baking?
It's a whole other animal, baking. But I love that about it because it is like a science experiment. And you can manipulate things and change things if you understand how the ingredients work together. So you do have that leeway of really an incredible amount of creativity. And that's what I love about it.
But she's definitely the smarter one, Philip. That's why she bakes and cooks really well.
Well, and when I was reading about it, you specialized in special education, and I also think that is a very special calling and wonderful. And so thank you for doing what you did before. And then getting into this now, we want to talk about Thanksgiving. It's coming up. Jet, you and I talked a little bit about coming in on this. So a lot of people are not blessed with monstrous kitchens, multiple places to cook. So what can you do to get ready, get some things done ahead of time?
Yeah, for sure. Look, and Ali and I were also not blessed with all this. It's only been in the last few years that we've been lucky enough to build this kitchen. It's really about, I think, planning your work and working your plan, right? Most people probably have a 4 or 6 burner range, 1 oven. So it's just understanding what you can make ahead of time, get that done, store it correctly, and then how to bring it up and reheat it. So what we bring to the table, hopefully today, is to show you how restaurant chefs prep, hold, cook, and then on the day of present. And hopefully that's what we're going to be able to share with you.
Well, I think one of the things you really have to do is some of your desserts ahead of time. And Ali, we took the pleasure of pulling off your Instagram page a couple of things that I saw that I thought were spectacular. These waffle cones.
Thank you.
And the toasted marshmallows that you can do with that. That looks remarkably complicated. But can you do some of these things ahead of time?
You can.
And these cookies,
you absolutely
these
can.
cookies with the Hershey's Kisses on top. I mean, seriously.
Talk us through that. How
so
would you
especially
prep that?
with cookies, you can make your dough ahead and freeze it. So my sister-in-law, in fact, I think makes all her Christmas cookies ahead of time and freezes them and then gives them to everybody at the holidays. So this is a great thing that you can do ahead of time. I like to freeze my cookie dough and then you just pull them out. I like to let it come to temp just a little bit so it's still cold going in the oven and then bake them off. It's super easy. I think your freezer's your best friend.
Isn't that critical, though, for a lot of people, a mistake they make when they make cookies? They leave the dough out on the countertop, and then they place it right onto a hot oven, cookie platter when they put it in the oven? Because doesn't that start to break things down quickly?
Yes, you want to wrap things, first of all, so they don't develop a skin on them. And also, I just think you get better results when you refrigerate your cookie dough prior to baking. Your cookies will hold the shape a little bit better that way.
So I'm also learning too, Philip. So I'm going to ask you a question. So you can freeze. No. So you're saying you can freeze the cookie in dough form.
Yes.
Right. And
yes.
How long is that good for? And then on the other question is, once you bake a cookie, can you freeze it and hold it as well?
Yes, on both of those counts.
Oh.
So you can freeze your dough. In fact, I have a couple of logs in the freezer of slice and bake chocolate chunk shortbread cookies in our freezer right now. So you can do it that way, or you can cook them. You can freeze them baked, and then you can leave them in the refrigerator overnight to come to temp them. And you can even refresh them in the oven, just heat them up a little bit to restore them.
Well, that's one of the things too.
You can do that. You can do it about a month ahead of time if you want to freeze things. I mean, you can really probably freeze them for a couple of months, but a month is probably good.
Yeah, and you can put them in little gift bags, and deliver those at the holidays. So that kind of leads to one of our viewer questions. What is the best Christmas cookie recipe? This comes, you know what? I don't even know that I can say Michelle, but there you go. She knows who she is. What's the best Christmas cookie recipe?
I mean, it's so subjective. Is there really a bad
what's
Christmas
yours?
cookie
No,
recipe?
don't play politics,
I don't
Ali.
think there's a bad one.
Ali, what's your favorite? I'll tell you mine, and then we'll get Philip's favorite.
That is so hard. I really love molasses cookies or ginger snaps. Those really kind of like molassesy, chewy. Just to me, that embodies the holiday season. I really love those. So that's probably my favorite.
Jen, what does she make that's your favorite?
Sugar cookies.
So Ali's sugar cookies. I eat. Don't judge me, and I know a lot of our friends watching viewers will, but I like macadamia white chocolate, man. Like I could eat those all throughout the year, and that's my favorite. Phillips, your turn, man. What's your favorite holiday cookie?
I'm going to play shameless suck up here because anytime I see a macadamia nut cookie, I'm going for it because I don't get that all of the time. And if it's there, I'm going for it. Now, I know you're cooking a couple of things, and we're going to get to that in just a second. We have one more viewer question, and it kind of ties into Ali's Twitter account as well. How do you make sweet potato pie? And Ali, I want to show a picture of an insane
oh my God. Yes.
Sweet potato pie. I think that's what it was on your, look at that.
Yes.
Now, you combined a couple of recipes to get to this.
Right.
What is it?
I mean, what I like to do is find recipes that I love and then kind of tweak them the way I like them, maybe add components to other things that I've learned. So for this one, this is a New York Times recipe, and it's a sweet potato casserole pie. So it's got a ground pecan, it's almost like a cookie-ish crust. But then it's like a play on the yams with marshmallows and sweet potatoes with marshmallows that everybody makes on Thanksgiving, only way better, way better. I took the Mustards Grill from Napa's recipe for brown sugar Italian meringue. And I piped that on the top instead of the marshmallows. I'm telling you, I could eat this with a spoon. I could just eat the top right off of that and I'm done. It's that good.
I believe it based off of what I saw. Now, we have a viewer question that's going to kind of lead right to Jet. Antonio Malik has a question about stuffing.
Yeah. What's the question, Antonio? Philip, or is it just a general?
Well, I think we're going to play the video. If we can talk to our director and say, let's roll that one and see what we got.
Antonio here. Question for Chef Jet and Chef Ali is about stuffing. Tried all kinds of them all over. It always tastes like celery, watered down. Please send your suggestions. Thank you.
All right. So I would add not only watered down celery, but bread. I mean, how
Agreed.
do you?
And too much of it.
And I like what you're doing there that we're going to show as well, because that's kind of another stuffing. But what do you think? Traditional stuffing, anything you can do?
For sure. Let me break it down for you guys. Antonio, great question, by the way. I agree with you. I think celery and, like Philip said, bread should not be the dominant features in a dressing. So dressing and stuffing, firstly, dressing usually is served outside the bird and stuffing is usually served inside the bird, and they're all the same. The main category of dressing or stuffing is bread. So you take old, day-old, 3-day-old bread, cut it into cubes, and then you hydrate it with turkey stock, celery, onions, a lot of herbs like thyme. The detour from that is the type of bread, which could be cornbread. And I also like to do rice stuffings personally. So the way to not let those flavors dominate, Antonio and all of our friends are making this, is use something with a lot of flavor as its base. And what I like to use is either bacon. I either like to use sausage. And if you go old school, like giblets and actually the livers from the turkey, fry that up really, really hardcore with a bunch of onions. Fresh thyme and fresh sage should be all about Thanksgiving. And then put your bread in. And then your stock is also critical. Canned stock is great. We all use it. But if you go to my Instagram page, learn how to make turkey stock from scratch, and then hydrate your dressing or your stuffing with that. So remember, the keys are flavorful proteins, in my opinion, a really good amount of herbs, and just cut down the celery if you don't want it. And you could go crazy and omit it. I know it's insane, but Antonio, those are the ways. So play with your dressings and use really great ingredients. And I'm going to show you an alternative to a dressing really shortly here.
You're making me hungry. I'm like starving now.
Let's do that. Let's do that, Jeff, because here's one thing. Many people have stopped stuffing the stuffing into the bird because of health issues, and they cook it separately. So then it does just become like bread. So if you're going to do it why not do a little fried rice? Because I love your idea that you've got going on, because might as well have that instead of stuffing if you don't like stuffing.
I agree. There are places in the Midwest and the South that use rice as stuffing. I'm going to show you a fried rice, which really you should just think about as a dressing and kind of how to throw it all together. How's that sound? Does that work?
Sounds like a plan. And I think you even have an ability to do it for
that's my cue. I do, actually. So down here, I've got all the ingredients that I need, right? I've got Chinese sausage because I'm doing an Asian style. But if not, I want you to sub this with sausage or bacon, whatever. Got a little cilantro. I got some scallions. I've got my wok heating up. And the first thing I'm going to do is put my, I'm going to render. And rendering is absolutely critical. So what you want to do is you want to heat up your sausage or your bacon, okay, firstly. And you don't need a lot of oil here because, you want to get the oil from whatever you're using there. So I'm going to back that up with just a little bit of cooking oil if I want. And I'm just going to saute this up for a minute and then let this really kind of express itself. And then this year, though, although I'm making a fried rice, which is a great dressing, I think we're going to, what do you think, Ali? You want to do cornbread? I think we're going to do cornbread. So I'm just going to let that render out a little bit. And remember, French bread, sourdough, cornbread should be your go-to breads. If you want to take a little detour, I think a rice, wild rice, brown rice, and I'm just going to use a little jasmine rice. So let's get back to our
if I could add something, I would also say, going back to what we talked about a little bit earlier of doing things ahead of time, any kind of fried rice, you're taking rice that you've already made in advance. And it's taking a stovetop. It's not taking up oven space. So, I like dirty rice. I make Cajun rice for ours.
And tell us about your dirty rice. I'm rendering right now anyway. So, Philip, you're trying to give us your dirty rice tips and your recipe, brother.
Well, I'll tell you the first mistake I ever made, though. I didn't realize that it was supposed to be day-old rice, and I actually used, uncooked rice. Didn't work out as well. I can tell you that. No, I use Jimmy Dean's sausage. I use celery, onions, bell pepper, of course, the trinity of Cajun cooking.
The trinity.
And then I like to make my own stock. So I'll put, and I think people might get overwhelmed with trying to cook stuff like that. It's really just the carcass and leftover stuff in a pot of water on your stovetop. It's not the most complicated thing to make stock. But then you throw it in there with the rice and you're good.
So the dirty rice part is Cajun, and it's those green, it's the green onions in the Trinity, right? Like that's
yes, the onions and bell pepper. Then of course you got to throw in plenty of spices. So you know, there's a lot of cayenne pepper in there. I'll tell you that.
I'm going to show our audience a tip on how to use fresh cooked rice. Now, most people have to use day old, but this is fresh cooked. I just made it. The way to use fresh cooked rice in fried rice or in a dressing is actually egg. So watch what happens. Usually, fresh cooked rice inside of a pan is going to stick like crazy, right? It's going to make a mess. It's never going to declump. So watch, right into the wet egg. I want our friends to add fresh cooked rice. And what happens here is something pretty magical. And I had to learn from this, this chef that's been wok cooking for about 50 years that I worked with in Vegas. Watch what happens now. I'm pushing this fresh, warm rice into the pan, but right into the egg, and it just pulls right off. The egg actually will hold the rice. It will keep it. It's like a little ice skate. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's like a little a protector, and it keeps it nice and fluffy. Let's add some greens in here now. And then for seasoning, I don't overthink fried rice. I think the only tip I want to give you that you might not have used before is actually this. This is a granulated chicken powder that we use in Asian restaurants. And this is the most of the flavor. So chicken powder has salt. It has a little bit of sweetness. And check out how much soy sauce I actually use, right? I barely used any soy sauce. That's it, just for a little aroma. And then I toss that together. And this is actually ready to eat for dinner. This could be lunch, or this could actually be put right into a stuffing. And the only ways I would get fancy with it is to add, I believe in sweet balance. So cranberries or dried fruit, any of those things, I think, in my opinion, are in good dressings. So
it smells amazing.
Isn't that nice? We get to eat this right after we get to hang out with you guys. So.
That's why I married him. Free cooking lessons.
I was about to say, how did you guys get together? But Jet, one of the things, most recipes for a dirty rice would call for you to put some stock in there, and because it's older rice, you need to add some liquid. I like the fact that you're not having to add any liquid to that.
Yeah, I wanted the audience to kind of get one more new technique, because I think stock is such a critical part of Thanksgiving. But, again, like, we need to have a lot of tools in our arsenal. What if you want to do a fresh rice? What if you don't have enough stock? There's always workarounds. And you know what? Bouillon, this powder as well, you can put that in water and make instant chicken stock. It's not that. Some would call it cheating. I call it flavor and ingenuity. So
it's
flavor
also,
enhancement.
like you said, it's also a tool in the box if you don't have any chicken stock. So there it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you and I had talked about this as well, and Ali, I want to kind of get both of your opinions on this. When we start talking about this year with the pandemic, we have smaller gatherings, not a lot. We're not getting the huge birds. We're, keeping it a very encapsulated group. So how do you decide? How many desserts do I make? How big my turkey should be? How many sides should I make? You said you had some chicken math. Not chicken math.
Kitchen math. Freudian right there.
Kitchen math.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do we decide to put things down a little bit?
Let's talk about it. So as a professional chef, you live and die by your numbers, right? The cardinal sin is running out of food. And, the other cardinal sin as a chef is having too much food and having waste. So here's some basic kitchen math. And I think Ali will do pastry kitchen math, and I'll do savory kitchen math. So in terms of protein, turkey, prime rib, ham, duck, whatever you're doing, for a turkey, I think most of us, raise your hand out there if you like leftovers. I see tons of hands out there. There you go. Phil's got 2 hands. You need the sandwich. You need the soup, all that. I believe that you should do 1 pound per person. The average person can only probably fit 3 to 6 ounces on their plate. Even if you go back twice, you have like 15 dishes to go for. So go 1 pound per person on protein. If you're about dressing or sides, right? I think that you should make about a cup to 2 cups per person if you go that way. So if you're like, well, let's make practical math. 10 people, 10 pounds of turkey. So you get a 12 pounder, you're probably good to go, right? Sides, again, if you do about a cup or 2 per person, you know that I've got 10 people again, make 20 cups of something. Okay. 1 big casserole is about that. Let's do temperatures as well. When cooking turkey, friends, make sure it's really critical with all poultry. When you put a thermometer, which is one of Ali's recommended gifts, make sure you hit 165 degrees off the bone for a turkey. Prime rib and beef should be about 120 to 140. That gives you that rare to medium well situation. I'm going to stop there. I think why don't you jump on some kitchen pastry math? When do you know pastry, your cookies are done, your bread's done, and all that good stuff?
So I think people think of temping things in terms of meat, right? And you always, I think you get the best results that way, but I don't think they realize you can do that with pastries too. And I like to temp my cookies. So I like this little thermopop. I have this little ditty right here. And for a large, say, chocolate chunk cookie, I'd probably cook that to about 192 to 198 degrees Fahrenheit internal. Make sure that you're taking the temperature in the center of the cookie and that you're not actually taking the temperature of the chocolate.
Wow. So you can actually know when the cookie's done by temperature.
Yes.
What was it? 190 what?
Like 192 to 198. If you're making a blondie, it could be a little bit more. Brioche bread, I like to do to about 200 degrees.
So rolls, bread loaves, brioche. Yeah. How much? What are you looking for? Internal
about
temp?
200.
200 degrees.
Yeah.
Excellent. And how do I know when a cake or pie is done?
I mean, I go old school and I use the tester, and
which is also good for this thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, I like a cake tester for a cake though, just because this is a little wide and you don't want like giant.
Pull a cake tester. Let's show our friends. Okay. Yeah, go for it. So also, Philip, though, this is Ali's thermometer, and this is Jet's thermometer. So I got the big guy right here, because you got to go into a giant turkey breast or a prime rib, and it gives you this gigantic readout as well. So,
and not only that, Jet, what I liked is the case to hold it, because let's take away the Thanksgiving element and let's go to grilling outside or wherever you might go. I lose that thermometer every time I turn around, but that's a neat Christmas gift because you can put it right on your belt.
Yeah, I'll talk to you about it really quick. So this is a Kydex. It's molded to the thermometer, which sits in there just like that. It either comes with a belt clip, right, or it comes on a magnet as well, so you could stick it on your grill. So again, it's from this little maker. You guys can go to alitila.com, where we have our recommended gift list of things that we love, and a lot of stuff is out there for sure. So what do you got there, Ali? You got a cake tester.
Oh, here's the cake tester. So
I got to tell you, Ali, I didn't even know you could do that. I didn't know you tested pastries. I always just kind of looked until it was a little bit brown, and I mean, there's an actual pastry thermometer.
Well, you could use this for anything really, but I like this one because the actual thermometer part's a little more on the thin side, so I don't have giant holes in my pastries when I'm done. But again, I think another thing is the freezer, right? If you're working ahead, and for desserts, it's a little bit easier, right? You're going to get 6 to 8 slices from a pie. If you're in my house, I'm just going to have a fork and a pie. But, I think it's better to have more leftovers than less.
For sure.
If you make pie dough ahead, you can freeze that. You can freeze pie dough molded to the pie tin and crimped and take it out when you need it. But I like to have a little extra pie dough in the freezer because I like to make ham pies with all the Thanksgiving leftovers. So little turkey, stuffing, cranberries, nice ham pie.
Nice.
Delicious.
Spectacular. Now, we heard you mention your website. I want to remind everybody that you might be watching this on random platforms, ABC7.com, our mobile app, but we also want to remind you to get our streaming apps for Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Android TV. And again, we want to thank Jet and Ali for joining us today. So here's the other question that I got for you guys. I kind of gave you a little bit of a head start before. Panic in the kitchen on Thanksgiving. You get into the fridge and you don't have something. You can't run to the grocery store, maybe. Do you guys have some fixes for crisis mode, whether it's baking or savory?
Yeah, so for sure, I think what you need to stock in your refrigerator this time of year, friends, and we're 2 days out. There's a lot of delivery services. So if you're panicking, I have gone to the store personally maybe 3 times in the last 6 months. I'm not going to plug the specific names, but there are at least 3 to 4 options out there that will get groceries to you within 2 hours. All right. So if you're stuck and you're like, I can't get it anyway, emulsifiers, right? I'm gonna put the pastry hat on.
Do it
really quick. But I think if you don't have eggs or something like that, bananas are a good emulsifier, and also using aqua fava. Have you ever heard of that? It's garbanzo bean liquid that comes in a can. That works as a really good emulsifier. You like it to tighten something together. And multiple different fats and oils, right? So you need olive oil. If you don't have that, just regular vegetable oil. If you don't have that, you render that turkey, just take the fat out of there as well. But don't freak out. There's a lot of ways you can fix things. If you have any specific questions, reach out to Philip, reach out to myself and Ali. You got 2 days, you're gonna be fine. Ali, any other tips on your end?
What about
I
applesauce?
thought those were great ones.
Okay.
What about applesauce?
Yes.
I've heard you can use applesauce for some for baking or what?
Yeah, usually as a replacement, I believe, for eggs and for fat sometimes. You can use applesauce. Another thing you can do too is if you're making like stocks, you can and some people are making like vegetable friendly or plant-based. You can thicken your stocks, not with applesauce, obviously, but have a little bit of cornstarch on hand or a little bit of flour. There's a lot of cool culinary MacGyver things you can do.
This leads to one of our questions from a viewer who wanted to know if you had any recommendations for a vegan family. And I think that's, especially if you have a guest that's coming over that might be vegan. What are some of your recommendations?
Absolutely. I want you guys to use, we've been cooking pumpkins forever. And then believe it or not, the stuff in the cans is actually sweet potato. I want all of our plant-based friends to go out and find a squash called kabocha squash, because it is sweeter than the sweetest sweet potato. It's starchy like a yellow potato. So I want you to just take those, hack them in half, a little bit of olive oil, salt, and pepper. And then you can roast those upside down until they're soft in the middle, turn them back over, and then fill them with grains and rice and dressing. Wow. You don't need meat. This holiday, if that's not what you're into, the meat substitutes out there, I don't need to plug them, but they also have sausage versions as well. So you could have a phenomenal Thanksgiving feast that's totally plant-based.
I love that kabocha. It's just all sweet, caramelly, and
and a lot of your
good.
breads are actually, Ali, right? Like rolls and stuff, and just Pullman loaves. They're just simple things, like, right? There's no eggs or anything in them.
I don't know if they're totally vegan.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying there are breads out there.
Yes,
French bread, sourdough bread, all that bread has no animal products in it.
Okay, well, we're 48 hours away. Some people, if you are unfamiliar with the kitchen, you might have gone to the grocery store and bought a frozen chicken or turkey, and it's frozen. You don't know if you can get it thawed. Leads to one of our questions here. How long do I defrost a 15-pound turkey?
All right, we're talking about 48 hours away, and it's darn frozen right now. So don't hold me, and I would not do this in the restaurant, but if you're in that state, and a lot of us kind of get to it, I want you to do this. Go out or grab just I like those big foil hotel pans, right? They're just like aluminum pans that we present the turkey in. Fill that with warm water. All right. Submerge that turkey that's frozen in that warm water, and then change that warm water out every time that warm water cools off. It's kind of cool. The science of it is the metal is actually pulling out more heat. So it's actually going to thaw faster in that. You should be good within 1 to 2 hours if you're changing out warm water. Wow. But don't let things hang out room temp too long, more than a few hours. Once that turkey is thawed out, do what you're going to do with it. Either brine it, or dry brine it and get it back in the fridge. But your job at this point, if you're freaking out, is just to break that freeze, but don't let it hang out too warm.
And don't let it just sit on the countertop. That's not how you're going to defrost one either. That doesn't work. Yeah. But it does leave, you mentioned once you get it thawed and you put it in the fridge, what about this next question? How long can you keep fresh turkey in the refrigerator? And that might even apply to something that's already been, that's not even frozen. So how long can you keep one in the fridge?
For sure. I think that's from Doug. Thanks for that question. If it's a fresh turkey that's thawed out, you have at least 3, and that I'm giving you the conservatives, right? But you have at least 3 to 4 days with that turkey. So what I personally do is I'll brine my bird, and we could talk about brining in a little bit. I'll pull it. You can rub it with butter or oil. And I actually leave my turkeys in the refrigerator uncovered. Yes, you heard me, uncovered for about a day. What that does, friends, is it dries out just the skin, because remember the brine is already inside the meat. And that dry skin, when you rub butter on it and put it in the oven, that gives you the most golden, crispy turkey skin there is. So I wouldn't go more than 3 to 4 days.
I got chills with the butter part. I got chills.
And you know what, Jet, you seem to have done this before. And Ali, we are going to talk pastries, but we want to talk about that brine because the next question is, and this is kind of an interesting one, what is the best turkey to brine? I didn't know there was a type of turkey to brine, but I do want to take that turkey and then lead us right into your brine, which we have some video from your Instagram page show you how to do it.
Yeah, let's do it. So before we roll that video, a brine simply, friends, is a way to get flavor into a very dense or dry piece of meat, right? And all you got to do is we'll roll the tape, but salt and sugar are the base brine. I do 2 cups of salt, 1 cup of sugar, and we're rolling now. You can see. And what I'll do is firstly add a little bit of hot water to that with a whisk, and that helps break it down. Salt and sugar are the base, and as you can see, we'll put a little water in there. And then I just whisk until it comes together, and then I add ice and water because the key to keeping anything fresh is cold. Citrus now is my thing, but some people use vinegar, like cider vinegar is a phenomenal brine. You can get awesome with herbs. Some people do a 100 garlic clove brine. Thyme, sage, any of those classic holiday herbs can be in your brine. So once your brine is made, you dump your 12 to 20 something pound turkey into it. And a rule of thumb is a small turkey, like an 8 to 12er, can go 24-hour in the brine. I would do 16 to 20 somethings for 48 hours in the brine. So remember, while it's submerged, something scientific called equilibrium occurs, where the salt water and the sugar water get into the meat and it pulls out all the normal juices. So basically trades juices. You rack it in the fridge, let it dry, pat it with butter, stick stuff in it, and you roast your turkey. So there's your overly extended brine conversation.
But we're not done, because I have some brine questions on that. Okay, so.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah. So when if you don't have someplace large enough to place that as it's brining, you can't just keep adding water, right? Because then that would dilute your brine. How do you keep it cool?
I guarantee you, friends, you have a place, and I'll name off a few things. That cooler that we use and that you're holding your drinks in, that it's like a 30 or 40 quart. It's a very standard size. That's going to work brilliantly because it holds the cool in. You could back that up with a really large a garden bag to keep the brine if you get kind of the heebie-jeebies about raw turkey in your cooler. Your bathtub is also another place to brine, friends, believe it or not. You put the turkey in there, you put the stopper in, and you keep adding ice. The rule of thumb is this. Another reason to have a thermometer, as long as your turkey stays between that 35 to 40 degree range in that brine for 24, 48 hours, you're in the safe zone. So as a chef, more numbers, real simple numbers is 40 degrees and above is the danger zone. And if you're under 40, you're in that safe holding temp, because it's just like basically being in the refrigerator.
And can you brine it too long?
Absolutely. So the salt can get into the meat and oversalt it. So remember, 24 hours for a smaller bird, 48 hours for a big bird. And if you're one of those people that are going for it, that 25-pound bird, you might be able to get away with that 72-hour. But 24 to 48, friends, you could rinse the exterior if you want, and slather some fat on that skin before you roast it. You're going to have a beautiful brown bird.
Now, you talked just a second ago of making that beautiful brown bird, and it leads us to our next question is, what is the best way to get the turkey skin nice and golden brown? You talked about drying it off after brining it. Actually, wait, that's a different question. So let's talk one more real quick, because I want to get this one. But is that just with the brine, or just if you're not going to brine it and you leave it in the refrigerator, just make sure it's dry outside, because then that way you'll be able to get it that golden color?
Yeah, I'll tell you a few real simple things, right? In the last few years, the dry brine has become very popular. Philip, Ali, I'm just going to share a secret with you. All dry brining really means is seasoning, right? It's a very fancy word for something you're already doing. So if you're dry brining, friends, level one is to just pat that skin very, very dry before it goes in the oven. Level two, rub some fat on it. And again, a lot of people do butter, which is phenomenal, but oil and olive oil is going to work the same, because what you're trying to do is get that fat on the skin, and the hot air from the oven becomes almost like a fryer, like a crisper. A chef would call that dry heat. So if you want to take it to the next level and you love crispy skin, I like skin personally. I actually will let it dry 8 to overnight in the actual fridge uncovered. And that's how you get beautiful golden skin every time.
All right, Ali, the next question is for you, because he's cooking this bird. Our next question, we saw it briefly there. What is the best way to make a turkey? Bake, fry, or rotisserie? Let's throw in a beer butt, because I do that on the green egg, and that's not a half bad way to cook one either. Ali, what's your favorite turkey?
I'm gonna say, okay.
Yeah.
Any turkey that Jet makes is phenomenal.
Stop.
Okay.
You can be honest with your favorite turkey.
I'm a little partial to the fried turkeys. I love those. I feel like you get this great crispy skin and it's really moist inside, and a little dangerous, but maybe worth the risk.
Well, can I
agree.
add?
Fastest way to cook a turkey.
Yeah, I think three minutes per pound. I can tell you, cook it in peanut oil, because that holds the temperature better.
Yeah.
And I can also tell you that it's not as unhealthy as people think it is, because it's so hot that the oil does not soak into the meat. So see, there you go. That's why there's three of us, Philip. That's why there's three of us. I will tell you, I get schooled every year, though. Everybody that comes to our house loves my wife's oven-baked turkey, top shelf.
Hey, so wait, Philip, you usually do multiple turkeys. So
we usually do 5.
Wow.
What?
I trade my neighbor with a smoked one, and then I do a rotisserie. I do one on the green egg. I do a fried one, and my wife does the oven baked. So this pandemic is going to be different for us, because we're only having just the family.
Sure.
So we won't be making 5 birds this year. That's for sure.
Like 5 turkeys, we can go home.
Yeah, 5 turkeys. You don't need
injection.
that,
I think the injection is one of the keys. Okay, so now this one, I've never heard of this, Jet. I'm telling you, I've never heard of this. So I actually Googled it first, because I didn't want to get made fun of by having somebody come up with this different thing. Scott Miller asks, how do you spatchcock a turkey? Never heard of that before, but then I found out it's a thing.
So spatchcocking a bird, all that simply means, and you can do this to any whole bird, common with chickens, turkeys, anything. Turn it over so it sits breast down, so you see the backbone, right, where the neck is. I basically, and you can go to our Instagram page and watch me do one right now. I basically draw a line from one side of the spine all the way to the tail. I draw the other line, spine to tail, and you basically, using a knife or scissors, a knife preferred for turkey, scissors for chicken, you cut that backbone out. Once that backbone is out, you can turn the bird back over, breast side up, splay it out, so you actually have the legs and thighs on the outside, breast in the middle, and it becomes a very flat plane. being a flat plane, that turkey will cook in half the time.
Wow.
And it will keep the breast moist. In fact, it's my favorite way to cook a turkey if you're not presenting like a family bird, like a picture bird. So again, spatchcocking is a way. You can also pair brining with spatchcock turkey. So brine your bird first, then spatchcock and roast it. But if you've never done it before, guys, you can do a 20-pound turkey in literally 3-ish hours versus the 6 or 7 hours. So it's a phenomenal technique.
I can't wait.
And if you haven't seen on Jet's Instagram, he also does a video where he ballantines a turkey.
Oh, I
and
saw
that
that.
is super cool.
I would cut off a finger.
Guys.
I would cut off a finger if I did
No.
that. But I will say, I had no idea until you explained it right now that I've been spatchcocking chickens because it's like my wife and daughter's favorite way. I just put a little thyme and olive oil and I poke some holes in the top of it and pop it in the oven and boom. It's amazing. It really does cook faster, but I didn't know that's what I was doing.
Man, you've been doing it the whole time. Now you just have the terminology. I love it. I love that technique.
Let me ask you guys a question kind of going into this, because the scissors I use to cut out the backbone, they're not really that good. Is there a tool in the kitchen that both of you guys, each of you, think that I can't live without? And is there something that people should have that you find most people don't?
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, Ali, what about baking? Is there anything?
Go.
Let me grab it.
Oh, Ali's going to grab it. Here we go. Oh, this is actually, wait, take it easy. This is a really good tool, actually.
Yeah. If you're baking, pick up a kitchen scale, because if you scale things instead of measuring by volume, you're going to get more accurate results every time. For example, if you use a half a cup of packed brown sugar, that could vary depending on how far you push it into the measuring cup. Whereas if you're scaling everything, it's going to be the exact same every single time. So I scale everything that I bake. I don't measure by volume. I don't like it. I much prefer to scale things, but I got this cool scale. The face comes off in case you're putting like a sheet pan or something on top, and I love it. So this is something that I think everybody should have.
Well, isn't that a little bit easier too? Because I mean, when you're sitting there and you're going back and forth with a cup of sugar, cup of flour, cup of this, cup of that, you're having to rinse it out and all that, whereas you just put it in a bowl and add it right there? I mean, that seems easier.
Well, right, because a lot of ingredients you're going to put together. So I can put my bowl on the scale, put in my flour, zero it out, put in my baking soda, zero it out, and every other spice or whatever I put in with that flour, I just zero, and it goes all in one bowl. Less dishes.
What about you, Jet? Is there one that you really like?
Yeah, so check out our gift guide, but I got to tell you, I'm an old school guy, right? So we've already talked about the necessity of thermometers for chefs, for all home cooks. I think you need to pick up a really great knife, and you don't need to spend tons of money on these knives either. So make sure you've got a really good set of knives. These have kind of this synthetic handle. These knives I've used in my professional career for the last 30 years, and neither one of them exceed $50. So I think we don't celebrate the serrated knife enough, because of this holiday, cutting bread, cutting very soft items requires a serrated knife. And then all you need behind that is a chef's knife that kind of tapers from handle down to the tip.
I love that one.
Yeah, and right. And again, you can spend thousands of dollars for knives, but you don't have to. With the scale, thermometer, a decent cutting board, and a really solid set of knives, you're going to be able to do anything. Yeah. We believe in multitaskers. We don't believe in unitasking items. So
one of the things we like a lot is leftover turkey. And our next question is from Archie. He says, "What's the best way to reheat leftover turkey?"
Yeah, I'm gonna, guys. Archie, thank you very much. So we have another chef in this house, and his name is Chef Mike. Microwave. All right. When I was a cook, we were working in a very fine establishment, and it was a display kitchen, and we would, in order to communicate to say you and Ali when we were on the line, I'd be like, "Hey, Philip and Ali, can you give this to Chef Mike for a minute?" And so when you cover things in a microwave, it heats it up in a way that it brings up the internal temperature of the moisture inside the item. And I think it's a nice stable way to heat it up. So I'll cover turkey, or I'll make a plate. I'll make a plate cold, by the way. Dressing, the cranberries, all that good stuff, all cold. Cover it tightly with a little bit of plastic. Give it to Chef Mike for about a minute or two. And I think that's the way. I think that's the way to go personally.
It works surprisingly well.
Chef Mike is great, man. I think we all need to celebrate him sometimes.
I will tell you. I'll tell you the one thing.
I'm gonna go with my original idea of the hand pie. Just dice up your turkey, throw in some stuffing and cranberry sauce, and bake it up in a hand pie.
Wait, let's go there again.
That's how
Allie.
I like to reheat my turkey.
Slow that down.
Yeah,
save pie dough.
Save the pie dough
take us through
trimmings.
it.
If you're gonna have trimmings, if you make your own pie dough, so like fold it up, wrap it, freeze it, and then when you're ready for it, roll it out and put all your Thanksgiving leftovers into your pie dough in a cute little ham pie, and you have Thanksgiving leftover ham pies.
That is phenomenal.
how
Is there a sauce that you add to that,
perfect is that?
Ali? Is there a sauce that you add to it? It's like a cream or anything, or is it just?
I like cranberry sauce.
Okay.
You've done, Ali last year did some with cranberry, so it was sweet, and some with the actual turkey gravy, Philip. So it all hydrates in there.
Yeah.
Imagine a little bite of turkey gravy, dressing, and turkey in a little hand pie.
Well,
Hold that
usually
thought
there's
on the
some moisture
cranberry
in the
sauce because we're
stuffing,
going
too.
there. I got to ask this next question from Alex, maybe. How can I get moist and tasty ham? First time cooking a ham with a bone. That is, we talked about multiple meats for this meal. Maybe you'll have turkey, maybe you have a prime rib or something. But first time cooking ham with a bone, how do you get it moist and make it taste really well?
Yeah, Alex, the ham is a tightrope walk because not a lot of moisture or fat in it. So I like to bring the hams up to temp covered, firstly. So you're bringing the temperature of the ham without evaporation from the oven, okay? So low temp first. Then you're going to unwrap it once the internal part of the ham is at, let's say, 165 degrees. Shouldn't be that hot because it's ham. So I would say 130, 140. Once your glaze is on top, the sugar glaze, crank the heat way up just to get that glaze to candy. What I like to do in our house is I slice the ham with a crackle on top, and I sit it in a little bit of the ham jus. It's just another word for the juice. So the ham or any of that liquid that comes out, put about a half inch of the jus on the bottom, and then and fan your ham out with the crackly sweet part on top. And another thing you can do is preheat that plate as well. So those are all little tips to get crispy, crackle top, warm, moist ham in the middle, and that's the way to play, I think.
Okay, well, now we get to go back to the turkey pot pie is what I'm going to call it. But we're going to do our cranberry sauce. We have a question here from Portia Gorman. It's a video question about cranberries, and it works perfectly with something I saw on your Instagram page. Let's listen up.
Happy holiday season. So this Thanksgiving, I don't want to have a can of cranberry sauce. I want homemade. So what is the best recipe for homemade cranberry sauce or a gorgeous cranberry mold?
Now, that couldn't be more perfect to segue into what we were talking about, whether it's using the leftovers or on your Instagram page. And we have a little bit of video as well we want to show as you describe and walk us through. And then, Ali, when he tells us about this cranberry sauce, is this the kind of sauce you're talking about throwing into the pot? Because I think it would be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you make the best cranberry sauce?
Real simple, guys. The can is fine, but take fresh cranberries, swim them in about 2 cups of orange juice. I like orange juice. Another 2 to 3 cups of sugar. Bring those cranberries to the boil. They must explode and pop, and you'll hear that because all the pectin must be released, and that's how that thickens. And then Ali is going to tell you the spice mix that it goes in.
So you want some cinnamon, some allspice, some cloves, a little bit of orange zest?
Yes. That's it. And then
so good.
We actually leave the cinnamon and the allspice and the cloves in there, and they become little gifts as you're eating. Cinnamon sticks, take them out, but all those other things, they meld right in. And check it out. The pectin, the lusciousness, the sugar, it all comes together.
It's really easy to make.
Yeah.
Surprisingly easy to make.
It takes about 10 minutes.
Okay.
It takes 10 minutes, Philip. 10 minutes in the pot. And then, you know what? I'll put it in a bag. And actually, Ali, I'm going to show you our cranberries right now.
So, Ali, how did you come to the conclusion that you take that and mix it in with your leftovers in a pot pie? That's a
well, you know, this cranberry sauce is a little bit more liquid, right? It's going to bring a little bit more moisture to the game inside your ham pie. So I like that about it. You know, and I love the can too. Don't get me wrong, but after eating this cranberry sauce, this is all I want every year.
Yeah. So this is our tip out there, guys. I made cranberry sauce last week. So it's Thanksgiving Day minus a week and a half to 2. And I have a vacuum packer. Some of us have vacuum packers, but if you don't, you can do the same thing with a zippy bag and squeeze out all the air, or a Tupperware container. But cranberries are the one thing that probably lasts the longest and get better with age. So I made those cranberries that you saw in the video. That goes in the bag, and that just comes out Thanksgiving Day, put right into a container. If you like the molds, use our recipe. You can add a box or half a box of like strawberry gelatin. Work that in there, and then create your mold that way. Are you canned or are you fresh? And Philip, are you canned or are you fresh?
I'm fresh.
You're fresh.
I'm fresh.
I gotta go with that recipe. I'm telling you, I gotta try it. I mean, I usually skip the canned cranberries. There's something about it that I'm just like, we've done all of this other cooking. And that, right. I would think you got to be careful to not let it boil over too much. You can make quite a mess. But I love the idea that you could have made that last week. You don't need to freeze it. You can just refrigerate it.
Absolutely, just refrigerate it, and it doesn't need to be airtight, although I have a fancy vacuum packer. And I eat cranberry sauce on top of pumpkin pie. That just might be a me thing. But
or oatmeal. Put it on your oatmeal.
Yeah, and then Ali makes for us for breakfast in the morning after Thanksgiving, oatmeal with cranberry sauce.
We do not want it to go to waste. We have another question. Can we get a really good creamy and cheesy mac and cheese recipe, please? That is one of our questions from Ern.
Yes.
M Yama. She came in and asked that question. I love that because, again, people are wanting to try different side dishes. So do you have something that's really good for mac and cheese?
Well, we have a rule in our house that if you want to eat it, you have to learn how to make it
from scratch.
So mac and cheese is something that we make with our kids all the time.
Yeah, so the way to do it, friends, to get really creamy mac and cheese, it's not actually loading it with more cheese. Believe it or not, it's counterintuitive. It's about making a cheese sauce. And we have a book, it's 101 Epic Recipes, but you don't need that. You need to understand basically making a roux, right, which is flour and butter. Flour and butter, and then you add milk or cream. Back in the day, they did cream. Until you get this very medium thick, what we call bechamel. The French would call it bechamel. Add cheese to that, and that's how you make a cheese sauce. Cheddar or whatever. But cheddar, if you're old school, you want that beautiful yellow color. But if you make a cheese sauce and you work that into the mac and cheese, that's going to add and keep more moisture in, because pasta is very thirsty. When you cook that pasta al dente and then you put it in the casserole dish or whatever dish serving it, it wants to suck out more liquid. If you make a thin to medium cheese sauce, you're actually using less cheese, but it gives you that perception of even creamier cheesiness. I know. I hope that made sense.
No, and I love
that's
the fact
how pros make mac and cheese.
Yeah, please show us the book one more time. Don't put it away. I know that people are going to want to know what that book is. Let's one more time.
Yeah, for sure, guys.
Epic Recipes.
Epic Recipes. And it's a technique book. Ali was a teacher for a long time. I've been a teacher for a long time. We want to teach you guys techniques that work for Thanksgiving, that translate to Christmas, that translate to the holidays. We don't want to teach you one recipe. We want to teach you how to cook everything, and then that's our approach. Ali has a fancy word in school. What's
scaffolding?
What does that mean?
Scaffolding learning. You're building on skills.
Wow, that's fancy.
Ali, we're about to run out of time. We about 3 minutes, but I do want to ask a question off of what you just said. Do you find much like education, success breeds success? So when people get into the kitchen, they feel like they don't know what they're doing, whether it's pastries and baking or maybe something more complicated. Once they have a little success, do they feel like, okay, let's try this? Is that what you guys are reaching for?
Yeah, we want to build on their skills. Technique is just as important as your recipe. You have to understand what to do with those ingredients. And that's what we want to teach people is how to improve their technique, because that technique might apply to like 10, 15 different recipes. So we really want to build on that and just help them to build their confidence. And then you can become, I think, a more intuitive cook in the kitchen.
Man, I wish we had more time. We could just keep going and going. But I do think this is a great year to experiment, because it's just going to be your close family. So roll the dice.
That's right.
Try something new.
Big chances in the kitchen.
We can be your guinea pigs.
Thank you guys so much. It was such a pleasure. I learned something. I can't wait to talk to you guys again. Don't forget, check out their book, check out their Instagram, and happy Thanksgiving to you guys and to everybody watching. It's just been a good time. See you guys later. Thanks for being here.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for having us.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and all your families.